Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching the stars through the main window. His ship was 3 weeks into a patrol mission along the outer edge of human space. The area was mostly empty except for a few gas giants and dead rocks floating in the darkness. Jake was a tall man with dark hair and calm eyes. He had been commanding ships for 15 years, ever since humans first started exploring beyond their home system. The Defender was not the biggest ship in the human fleet, but it was fast and well-armed. Jake trusted his crew completely. Navigator Lisa Park sat at her station, checking the ship's position. She was a small woman with short black hair who never made mistakes with numbers. Next to her, Chief Engineer Danny Walsh monitored the engines. Danny was a big guy from Texas who could fix anything that broke. At the communications station, Amy Turner listened to the radio signals from nearby space. Amy suddenly looked up from her equipment. "Captain, I'm getting something strange," she said. "It's a distress signal, but it's not coming from any human ship." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" Amy pressed some buttons and the message played through the speakers. The voice was high and musical, speaking in a language none of them had heard before. But the ship's computer quickly translated the words. "Please, anyone who can hear this message. We are the Villani people of Velaris Prime. Our world is under attack. Terrible ships have come from the stars. They destroy our cities and take our people as slaves. We do not know how to fight them. Please, if there is anyone out there who can, help us. We are dying. Send help. Please send help." The bridge became very quiet. Jake looked at his crew. They all had the same expression on their faces. Someone was asking for help, and humans always helped when they could. "Amy, how far away is this signal coming from?" Jake asked. Amy checked her instruments. "It's been bouncing through several relay stations, Captain. Best guess is about 40 light years from here, near the edge of Krek space." Danny made a sound like he was spitting. "The Kreks? Those are bad news, Captain. I heard they've been taking over systems all across this sector." Jake knew about the Kreks Empire. They were a group of different alien species who worked together to conquer other worlds. The Galactic Council said the Kreks were dangerous but not an immediate threat to human space. Jake had always wondered what would happen when humans finally met them. "Lisa, plot a course to the source of that signal," Jake ordered. "Danny, I want the engines ready for maximum speed. Amy, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've received a distress call and are investigating." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Course plotted, Captain. It will take us 6 days at full speed." Jake sat down in his command chair. He knew he should wait for orders from Earth Command before rushing off to help aliens they had never met. But the message had sounded so desperate. The Villani were clearly not warriors. They were asking for help because they had no other choice. Amy turned around. "Captain, I'm getting a response from Earth Command. Admiral Kate Sullivan wants to speak with you directly." The main screen flickered and showed the face of Admiral Sullivan. She was a serious woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Jake had served under her when he was younger and respected her greatly. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said, "I received your message about the distress signal. Tell me what you know." Jake explained about the Villani message and their location near Krek space. Admiral Sullivan listened without saying anything. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "The Galactic Council has already heard about this situation, Captain," she finally said. "They've advised all member species not to get involved. They say the Villani are too far away and the Kreks too powerful. Sending 1 or 2 ships would just get them destroyed without helping anyone." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "So we're supposed to just let innocent people die because it's too difficult to help them?" Admiral Sullivan smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "I didn't say that, Captain. I said that's what the Council recommended. But humans don't always follow recommendations, do we?" Jake straightened in his chair. "No, ma'am, we don't." "Continue. To the Villani system, Captain. But don't engage the Kreks forces when you arrive. I want you to get as much information as possible about what we're dealing with. Find out how many ships they have, what kind of weapons, how they fight. Can you do that?" Yes, Admiral. But what about the Villani? Admiral Sullivan's expression became very serious. Captain Morrison, you've known me for a long time. When humans decide to help someone, do we send one ship? Jake suddenly understood what she was planning. No, ma'am, we send fleets. Exactly. Get me that information, Captain. I have some calls to make. The transmission ended and Jake looked at his crew. They were all staring at him with excitement in their eyes. You heard the Admiral, Jake said. Danny, I want every bit of speed you can give me. Lisa, make sure our sensors are ready to record everything. Amy, keep monitoring that distress signal. And everyone, remember that we're probably going to see things that will make us very angry, but we need to be smart about this. The UES Defender turned toward the Villani system and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Admiral Sullivan was already contacting every ship captain in the human fleet. The Galactic Council thought sending help was pointless. They were about to learn that humans had very different ideas about helping people who needed it. Jake stood on his bridge and watched the stars streak past. In 6 days, they would reach the Villani system. He had a feeling that everything would change after that. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center on Earth, watching dozens of screens showing ship positions across human space. It had been only 12 hours since Captain Morrison sent his report about the Villani distress signal. In that short time, everything had changed. The first captain to volunteer was Rick Hayes, commanding the battlecruiser used Thunderstrike. Rick was an old friend of Kate's, a tough man who had fought pirates on the frontier for years. His message was simple. Admiral, if we're going to help these people, you'll need ships that can fight. Count me in. After Rick's message went out on the military channels, more captains started calling. Commander Sarah Blake volunteered her squadron of 6 fast attack ships. Colonel Pete Johnson offered his Marine battalion and their transport ships. Within 6 hours, Kate had more volunteers than she could count. Dr. Emma Wright arrived at Earth Command that morning. She was a small woman with red hair who studied alien life forms. Kate had called her because they needed to understand the Villani before they could help them properly. Admiral, Emma said, looking at the alien message on her computer, I've been studying the Villani transmission. Their voice patterns and the way they speak tells us a lot about them. Kate sat down next to her. What kind of people are we dealing with? Emma pulled up pictures on her screen. They're very different from humans. Based on their biology, they're much more fragile than we are. They probably can't handle the kind of physical stress that humans think is normal. Their bones are lighter. Their muscles are weaker, and they need very specific air to breathe. So they're not fighters, Kate said. Definitely not. They're probably scientists and artists and farmers. The kind of people who build beautiful cities and study the stars. They would never expect someone to attack them for no reason. Kate felt anger growing in her chest. The Kreks were attacking people who couldn't fight back. It was like wolves attacking sheep. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rodriguez walked into the room carrying a datapad. Ben was Kate's intelligence officer, a smart man who could figure out enemy plans better than anyone. Admiral, I've been studying everything we know about the Kreks Empire, Ben said. They're not as tough as they want everyone to think. Kate looked at him with interest. Explain. Ben put his data on the main screen. The Kreks win fights by using fear and big numbers. They attack with hundreds of ships all at once. Most species see that many enemies and surrender without fighting. The few times someone has fought back, the Kreks had trouble. What kind of trouble? Kate asked. They don't know how to adapt when their first plan doesn't work. They expect their enemies to be scared and confused. When someone fights back with a real plan, the Kreks fall apart. Emma looked up from her work. That makes sense. They've probably never fought anyone like humans before. Kate walked to the window and looked out at the ships in orbit around Earth. In just one day, over 50 captains had volunteered for the mission. More were arriving every hour. Her assistant, Lieutenant Tom Gray, walked up to her. Admiral, Captain. Morrison is sending another report from the edge of the Villani system. The main screen showed Jake's face. He looked tired but determined. Admiral, we've reached the Villani system and I have bad news. There are over 300 Krex ships here. They've surrounded the planet and are bombing the cities. We can see fires from space. Kate felt her hands tighten into fists. What about the Villani people? They're still fighting, but barely. Some of their ships are trying to evacuate civilians, but the Krex are hunting them down. Admiral, these people are going to die if we don't do something soon. Understood, Captain. Keep watching and stay hidden. Help is coming. The transmission ended and Kate turned to face her staff. Everyone in the room was looking at her, waiting. For orders, how many ships do we have ready to go? She asked. Tom checked his list. 140 ships have volunteered so far, Admiral. More are still arriving. That's not enough, Kate said. Send a message to every human colony, every trading post, every ship in space. Tell them what's happening to the Villani. Tell them we need every ship that can fight. Emma looked worried. Admiral, are you sure about this? We've only been part of the galactic community for 2 years. If we attack the Krex Empire, it could mean war. Kate walked back to the window. Dr. Wright, let me ask you something. If someone was attacking Earth, killing our children and burning our cities, what would you want other species to do? Emma was quiet for a moment. I'd want them to help us. Exactly. The Galactic Council thinks we should send a small rescue mission that will probably fail. They think that's the smart thing to do. Kate turned around to face everyone. But humans don't do the smart thing. We do the right thing. Ben looked at his data again. Admiral, if we're really going to fight the entire Krex fleet, we need more than ships. We need a plan. Kate smiled, and it was not a nice smile. Oh, I have a plan, Commander. The Krex think they know how galactic warfare works. They think we'll follow the same rules as everyone else. They're about to learn that humans play by different rules. Over the next 2 days, ships arrived at Earth from every corner of human space. Cargo haulers, passenger ships, research vessels, military ships, and even some old mining barges. Their captains all said the same thing. We heard about the Villani, we want to help. Kate stood on the bridge of her flagship, the used Liberator, and watched the fleet assemble. 230 ships, the largest human fleet ever gathered. Most of the captains had never fought in a real battle, but they were all determined to help people they had never met. Captain Hayes sent a message from the Thunderstrike. Admiral, this is quite a fleet you've put together. The Krex won't know what hit them. Kate activated the fleet communications system so every ship could hear her. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. In 6 hours, we jump to the Villani system. The Krex Empire thinks they can destroy innocent people without consequences. Today they learned they were wrong. Today they meet humanity. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Velaris system like thunder rolling across the sky. 230 ships appeared in perfect formation, their engines glowing bright blue against the darkness of space. On the bridge of the UES Liberator, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the tactical displays light up with enemy contacts. The Krex fleet was exactly where Captain Morrison had reported them, surrounding the planet Velaris Prime like hungry wolves around a campfire. Admiral, Lieutenant Tom Gray said from his station, we're detecting 320 Krex vessels. They're mostly cruisers and destroyers, with about 50 heavy battleships. Kate nodded. The numbers were bad, but not impossible. What's the status of the planet? Multiple cities are on fire, Tom reported. We can see Krex landing ships on the surface. They're taking prisoners. Kate felt her jaw tighten. Every minute they waited, more innocent people died or disappeared. Into Krex slave ships. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communications system from his position closer to the planet. Admiral, the Krex have noticed us. They're pulling ships back from the planet to form a battle line. On the main screen, Kate could see the Krex fleet moving. Their ships were dark and angular, built for intimidation as much as fighting. They moved in tight groups, exactly like Ben Rodriguez had predicted. The communications officer at the front of the bridge looked up. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Krex fleet. It's on all frequencies. Put it through, Kate ordered. The screen flickered and showed the face of a Krex commander. The alien had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouthful of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and threatening. I am War Leader Vexteth of the Krex Empire. You humans have made a terrible mistake coming here. You face the might of over 300 warships. You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning. Kate walked closer to the screen. She could see that the alien expected her to be afraid. It probably worked on most species. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Human Earth Alliance, she said in a calm voice. You have attacked an innocent species and taken their people as slaves. You have 1 hour to stop your attack and leave this system. All Villani prisoners will be returned unharmed. This is your only warning. War Leader Vexteth made a sound that might have been laughter. You think 200 ships can defeat the Krex Empire? We have conquered dozens of worlds. We will add your ships to our fleet, and your people to our slave markets. You have 59 minutes, Kate said, and cut the transmission. Tom looked nervous. Admiral, they outnumber us significantly. Are you sure about this? Kate turned to face her bridge crew. Tom, let me tell you something about humans. We don't fight wars the way other species do. We don't worry about numbers or fair fights. We worry about winning. She activated the fleet communications. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. Battle stations. Prepare to show these aliens how humans fight. Across the human fleet, ships powered up their weapons and adjusted their formations. Captain Rick Hayes on the Thunderstrike checked his battlecruiser's missile systems. Commander Sarah Blake organized her fast attack squadron for hit-and-run tactics. Colonel Pete Johnson prepared his Marines for boarding actions that the Krex had probably never seen before. Dr. Emma Wright worked frantically in the medical bay, preparing to treat wounded Villani civilians. She had designed special equipment to help them breathe human ship air and handle the stress of evacuation. The hour passed quickly. War Leader Vexteth sent no reply to Kate's ultimatum. Instead, the Krex fleet moved into attack formation, with their heavy ships in the center and smaller vessels on the wings. Admiral, Tom reported, Krex ships are powering weapons. They're preparing to attack? Kate sat down in her command chair. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. The Krex have chosen war. Show them what they've chosen. The Krex attacked first, exactly as Ben Rodriguez had predicted. Over 300 ships fired at once, sending thousands of energy bolts and missiles toward the human fleet. It was meant to be overwhelming, to make the humans panic and scatter. Instead, something happened that the Krex had never seen before. The human ships didn't try to avoid the attack. Captain Morrison led a group of destroyers straight into the enemy fire, their shields glowing white-hot as they absorbed the hits. At the last second, they scattered in different directions and opened fire at point-blank range. The Krex had expected the humans to fight from a distance, like most species did. They weren't ready for ships that acted like guided missiles, diving straight into their formations and firing everything they had. 12 Krex ships exploded in the first 5 minutes of battle. What are they doing? War Leader Vexteth screamed at his officers. Why are they flying into our weapons? On the Liberator, Kate watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Tom, tell Captain Blake to begin her attack run. Sarah Blake's fast attack squadron appeared from 3 different directions at once, moving faster than the Krex could track. They hit the enemy fleet's left wing like lightning, destroying 6 ships before disappearing back into space. The Krex tried to chase them, but the human ships were gone before they could react. Seconds later, Blake's squadron appeared behind the Krex fleet and attacked again. This is impossible, Vexteth said to his staff. How are they moving so fast? How do they coordinate these attacks? His intelligence officer looked terrified. War Leader, these humans fight like nothing we've ever seen. Their ships move like living things. Their crews react faster than our computers can calculate. Kate opened communications to the entire Krex fleet. War Leader Vexteth, you wanted to see how humans fight. Are you enjoying the lesson? The battle was just beginning, but already the Krex were learning something that would soon spread across the galaxy. Humans didn't just have better Technology or faster ships? They had something much more dangerous. They had the willingness to risk everything to protect people they had never met. War leader Vexteth looked at his tactical displays and realized he had made a terrible mistake. The humans weren't fighting like any species he had ever encountered. They were fighting like the stories his people told about ancient monsters from the dark between the stars. The battle had been raging for 2 hours when more Krex ships arrived. War leader Vexteth had called for help from 3 nearby systems, bringing his total fleet to over 800 vessels. He smiled with his sharp teeth as he watched the reinforcements take position. "Now we will crush these humans," he told his officers. "No species can fight against such numbers." On the UES Liberator, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the new enemy ships appear on her screens. Lieutenant Tom Gray looked worried as he counted them. "Admiral, we're now facing 812 Krex ships. They outnumber us almost 4-1. Kate didn't look concerned. "Tom, has Colonel Johnson's boarding teams reached their targets yet?" "Yes, Admiral. They've successfully captured 15 Krex ships in the last hour." Kate smiled. The Krex were about to learn another lesson about how humans fought wars. Colonel Pete Johnson floated in zero gravity inside a Krex cruiser, his power armor making him look like a metal giant. Behind him, 20 Marines moved through the ships' corridors, their weapons ready. The Krex crew had never seen anything like human boarding tactics. Most species in the galaxy fought their wars in space, ship against ship. The idea of actually going inside an enemy vessel and fighting hand-to-hand was completely foreign to them. The Krex soldiers were not prepared for humans who moved like predators and fought like demons. "This corridor is clear, Colonel, Sergeant," Mike Davis reported. "The Krex are barricaded in their command center," Pete nodded. "Set the charges. We'll blow the door and take the ship." The explosion echoed through the Krex vessel. Pete and his Marines rushed through the smoke and found 12 Krex officers cowering behind their control panels. The aliens had never faced humans in close combat before. They surrendered immediately. "Another ship for the fleet," Pete said into his radio. "Admiral, the UES Liberator, this is Colonel Johnson. We've captured another Krex cruiser. My engineers are working on the engines now." Across the battle zone, human boarding parties were doing the same thing on dozens of Krex ships. The aliens found themselves fighting 2 wars at once, one in space and one inside their own vessels. Captain Rick Hayes on the Hughes Thunderstrike led a group of battlecruisers in a devastating attack on the Krex command formation. His ships moved in perfect coordination, hitting the enemy from multiple angles while their own fighters provided cover. "Target their command ship," Rick ordered his weapons officer. "Take out their leadership and the rest will fall apart." The Thunderstrikes. Main guns fired together, sending massive energy beams across space. The Krex command ship's shields failed under the assault, and secondary explosions began tearing through its hull. War leader Vexteth felt his ship shake around him. "Damage report," he screamed. "War leader, our engines are failing. Life support is damaged. We need to evacuate," his engineering officer reported. Vexteth couldn't believe what was happening. His fleet was supposed to be unstoppable. Instead, the humans were destroying them piece by piece. Meanwhile, Dr. Emma Wright was coordinating the rescue of Villani civilians from the planet's surface. Human transport ships, protected by fighter squadrons, landed in the burning cities. To evacuate survivors, Emma worked in the medical bay of a transport ship, helping Villani families who had been rescued from Krex slave ships. The aliens were small and fragile, with large eyes and soft voices. They looked at the humans with wonder and gratitude. "Thank you," whispered a young Villani female as Emma helped her breathe through a special mask. "We thought no one would come to help us." Emma felt tears in her eyes. "Humans always help when we can," she said gently, back in space. The battle was turning against the Krex. They had started with overwhelming numbers, but human tactics were slowly destroying their advantage. Captain Jake Morrison's destroyers continued their lightning attacks, appearing from nowhere to strike at enemy weak points. Commander Sarah Blake's fast attack squadron had destroyed over 30 Krex ships without losing a single vessel. Her pilots moved their ships like dancers, always one step ahead of enemy fire. "Admiral," Tom reported to Kate, "the Krex fleet is starting to break formation. Some of their ships are trying to retreat." Kate activated the fleet communications. "All ships pursue the retreating enemy. Do not let them escape to threaten other innocent worlds." This order shocked the Krex more than anything else that had happened. In galactic warfare, retreating enemies were usually allowed to leave to avoid making conflicts worse. Humans, however, followed a different rule. If someone was dangerous enough to fight, they were too dangerous to let go. Human ships chased the fleeing Krex vessels across the system. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rodriguez had identified the location of Krex supply bases and staging areas. The human fleet didn't stop at defending Velaris Prime. They went after every Krex military installation in the region. War-leader Vextith managed to escape in a small ship as his command vessel exploded behind him. He sent a desperate message to Krex High Command. "The humans are not like other species," he reported. "They don't fight to win battles. They fight to destroy enemies completely. They take our ships from the inside. They chase our retreating fleets. They show no mercy to those who threaten innocents." On Velaris Prime, Velani survivors watched human ships landing in their cities. The humans brought medical supplies, food, and engineering teams to rebuild what the Krex had destroyed. For the first time in months, the Velani felt safe. Admiral Sullivan stood on her bridge and watched the tactical display. The Krex fleet was scattered and broken. Over 200 enemy ships had been destroyed or captured. The rest were fleeing toward the edge of the system. "Admiral," Tom said, "we're receiving surrender requests from 43 Krex vessels." Kate thought for a moment. "Accept their surrender, but tell them they will be held responsible for their crimes against the Velani." And Tom, "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need prison ships and occupation forces." The battle was nearly over, but Kate knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans decided to solve a problem, they solved it completely. 3 months after the first distress signal from Velaris Prime, the Krex Empire no longer existed. The human fleet had not stopped after winning the battle. They had followed every retreating Krex ship to its home base and destroyed the entire military structure that had terrorized this part of the galaxy for decades. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the rebuilt capital city of Velaris Prime, watching Velani children play in parks that had been battlefields just weeks before. The small, blue-skinned aliens laughed and ran through gardens that human engineers had helped replant. It was a sound that made all the fighting worthwhile. Captain Jake Morrison walked up beside her. He now wore the insignia of an admiral, promoted after his successful leadership during the campaign. "The last Krex prison world has been liberated, Admiral. That makes 17 species we freed from their slave camps." Kate nodded. The scope of Krex cruelty had shocked even the hardened human military officers. Entire planets had been turned into labor camps where captured aliens worked until they died. The humans had freed every single one. "How many species have requested protection agreements?" Kate asked. Jake checked his datapad. 43 so far. The Aldari were the first. After the Velani. Now everyone wants human ships patrolling their space. Kate wasn't surprised. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy about what humans did to those who threatened innocent people. The Krex had learned too late that humans didn't just win battles, they eliminated threats permanently. Dr. Emma Wright approached them, carrying a young Velani child who had been orphaned during the attacks. The little alien held on to Emma tightly, having bonded with the human doctor who had saved her life. "Admiral," Emma said, "the Velani Council wants to hold a ceremony tomorrow. They're officially naming humans as the protectors of Velaris Prime. It's the highest honor they can give." Kate felt a warm feeling in her chest. "We didn't do this for honors, Doctor. We did it because it was right." "I know," Emma replied. "That's exactly why they want to honor you." Back on Earth, the Galactic Council was meeting in emergency session. Representative Zeth Carr, a tall alien with tentacles for arms, was speaking angrily to the assembled delegates. "The humans have gone too far," he declared. They completely destroyed the Krex Empire. They violated every rule of proportional response. This sets a dangerous precedent. Another council member, an insect-like being called Hive Queen ZTKK, clicked her mandibles in disagreement. The Krex were slavers and murderers. The humans did what we should have done years ago. Zethkar waved his tentacles in frustration. That's not the point. The humans acted without council approval. They escalated a local conflict into a regional war. They saved 17 species from slavery, Hive Queen ZTK replied. How is that escalation? The debate had been going on for weeks. Some council members thought humans were too aggressive. Others were secretly relieved that someone had finally dealt with the Krex threat. Most were simply afraid of what humans might do next. On the human colony world of New Texas, shipyards worked around the clock building new vessels. The success against the Krex had convinced Earth Command that humanity needed a permanent military presence in the galaxy. They were building the Terran Protection Fleet, dedicated to preventing future atrocities. Captain Rick Hayes supervised the construction of the new flagship, a massive battleship called the UES Guardian. His Thunderstrike had been badly damaged in the final battle against the Krex, but Rick didn't mind. The new ship was twice as large and 3 times as powerful. How many ships will be in the protection fleet? Asked his new first officer, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park. She had been promoted after her excellent service as navigator on the Defender. 200 ships to start, Rick answered. But Admiral Sullivan thinks we'll need more as word spreads about what we're doing. Lisa looked out at the busy shipyard. Do you think other species will try to test us like the Krex did? Rick's expression became serious. I hope not. But if they do, they'll learn the same lesson. Humans don't send help. We send fleets. Meanwhile, on a distant world near the galactic rim, another species was planning an attack on their peaceful neighbors. The Vorthan Collective had heard about the human intervention in Krex space, but they didn't believe the stories. Surely, no species would travel so far to fight for strangers. Admiral Jake Morrison received the distress signal on a Tuesday morning. The message was from the Keth people, a species of plant-like beings who lived on garden worlds throughout their region. The Vorthans were burning their forests and taking their people as slaves. Jake sat in his command chair aboard the UES Liberator and listened to the desperate plea for help. His crew watched him carefully, knowing what his decision would be. Communications, Jake said calmly. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have another situation that requires fleet intervention. His communications officer, a young woman named Beth Cole, smiled as she sent the message. Admiral, should I also send the standard warning to the aggressors? Jake nodded. Tell the Vorthans they have 24 hours to withdraw from Keth space and release all prisoners. After that, they'll meet the Terran Protection Fleet. Within hours, human ships from across the galaxy began moving toward Keth space. The message was the same one that had saved the Villani and destroyed the Krex Empire. When innocent people called for help, humans answered with overwhelming force. The Galactic Council watched these developments with growing concern and grudging respect. They had spent centuries trying to maintain peace through diplomacy and carefully balanced responses. The humans had achieved more in 3 months with simple, direct action. Representative Zethkar sent a private message to Admiral Sullivan. Admiral, the Council is concerned about human military expansion. Where will this end? Kate's reply was simple and clear. Representative, it will end when no one in this galaxy has to fear being enslaved or murdered by their neighbors. If that concerns you, perhaps you should ask yourself why. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberator as his fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. Behind him, 200 ships waited for the order to depart. Ahead of him, another innocent species waited for rescue. All ships, he announced. This is Admiral Morrison. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Terran Protection Fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with them a message that was rapidly spreading across the galaxy. When Deathworlders decided to help, they didn't send token forces or diplomatic notes. They sent fleets and they solved problems permanently. The age of human protection had begun.